A great evening to you all, my dear fellow Toastmasters and guests. I am Theresa, your Sergeant at Arms, and I am pleased to welcome you all to our meeting number 1286. Since words are more powerful than swords, I request you all to choose your words very carefully while speaking on any topic. Please turn on your cameras. I'm pretty sure it will liven up the meeting. And please stay on mute unless you need to speak. And keep encouraging our speakers and role takers whenever needed. Old friends are gold, new friends are diamond. However, only gold can hold a diamond. To all the experienced and golden Toastmasters for the pillars of our club, thank you so much for guiding us and polishing the new rocks and turning us into diamonds. I would like to introduce you all to my experienced friend. He has always believed in me and pushed me forward and to take up many roles and give speeches. When I started as an SAA, before the first meeting of this term, I called him up and he asked me, "Are you all set for tomorrow?" And I said, "I'm pretty nervous. Will I be able to do okay tomorrow?" And he said, "Of course you can. Why not?" And he gave me a few experience tips since from when he was a SAA. And then he told me, "I totally believe in you and you can do it so well." Thank you so much for encouraging me always. And he is none other than our dear, lovely President, Srijit Kilakilot. Over to you, President.
Thank you so much, Kirtana, for that warm and heartwarming introduction. Thank you so much. My dear fellow Toastmasters and dear guests, a very good evening to all of you and warm welcome to Bangalore Toastmasters Club. I declare the meeting number 1286 opened. May I request our secretary to read out the minutes of previous meeting? Toastmaster Preeti.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and my dear guests. Independence Day meeting number 1285 was special in its own way, as each one was seen trying to give that patriotic touch to their role. And I'm sure those who witnessed it have etched it in their minds. The theme, the spirit of being Indian. Starting with Vande Mataram song, aired by our Sergeant at Arms, Kirtana, followed by President's message stating, true spirit of the Indian can be summed up in one emotion, and that is compassion. Toastmaster of the day, Toastmaster Thomas, when he read the preamble and stressed on significance of Constitution, we dusted the memories just to realize most of it was just stamped on the preamble and we have forgotten to live it. From filing patents and now giving the icebreaker speech, chess champion Sai Deepak has wowed us. Toastmaster Nazni's mesmerizing speech got us engrossed in her real life stories. And Vivek's witty icebreaker, it surprises me how seamlessly he carries off the witty lines. Rajdeep sir's speech gave goosebumps. Even now I can feel that. His description of each and every aspect of the moment made us believe we were on the Pathankot platform number 1 and our soul shouting out, "We are with you, Lieutenant Triveni." Time and again, BTMC, our club, and general evaluators and evaluators like Toastmaster Vaidyanathan, Toastmaster Jose, Toastmaster Aaron, Toastmaster Zareen, and Toastmaster Punit's feed forwards, raise the bar, and help the speakers move one notch higher. How wonderfully Table Topics was presented by Table Topics Master Toastmaster Nagesh sir. And do you remember one learning he gave us? How many of you do? Switzerland has declared May 26 as the Science Day in honor of visiting President APJ Abdul Kalam, our president. And to his tune, Table Topic speakers gave us a memorable journey into our own country. Well, The last but not the least, our unsung heroes, our Taggle team, without whom we would not have made it on time. Dear Toastmasters, how enriching is this club that encapsulates the meeting with patriotism, compassion, wit, and wisdom. Where else would you get all this in one platter? And those who feel the pinch of missing out on the precious Independence edition, look into the minutes of the meeting to recharge yourselves. On to the Hall of Fame. Tackle team player, Toastmaster Abhirama KS, role taker, Toastmaster Vaidyanathan, table topic speaker, Toastmaster Robinson D'Souza, sir, evaluator, Toastmaster Puneet Raj, and best speaker, DTM, Dr. Rajdeep Manwani, sir. Now, the moment has arrived and your wait is over. TPL scores of 6 weeks in a nutshell. The Super Kings with 399 leading, as always. We need to look into their strategy. And here's the twist. Royal Challengers rising up to the second position and Sunrisers with 300, Knight Riders closely following with 248. Over to you, President.
Thank you, Toastmaster Preeti, for that wonderful minutes of meeting. Dear members, are the minutes in order?
Yes.
Thank you so much. So I declare the minutes stand pass. When I was a kid, people used to call me Padam, means banana, because I was very soft in the sense people could make me cry very easily. For an example, when I was studying in primary school, when the teacher give punishment to other students, I used to get scared. I used to cry and I run towards teacher and sit on her lap. Can you believe that? Similarly, I even dreaded movies. When there was some fight sequence or a villain comes and torture people, I used to hide behind the seats, or I tightly close my eyes. Once I made such a ruckus in a theater, my mother felt extremely embarrassed. There was some fight sequence, I got scared and I started bursting out crying, and I demanded, please take me to my home immediately. After that, my mother never took me to any movies. You know, she never had to, because even I was not interested to go for movies. I used to stay back with my grandmother. My grandmother, as many of us loves the company of grandmother, even I loved my grandmother's company, because she used to entertain me with her engaging stories. And she was the best storyteller I have ever seen. All the stories she narrated me about more than 30 years ago. I can recall very vividly all those stories. When I look back now, I realized she was a master of all the techniques which we learn here in Toastmasters. For example, voice modulation or voice variety. She used to use different tones for different characters, and her facial expression and gestures brings the life of situations. And she uses vivid and descriptive language to create that picture in our mind. And most beautiful thing is in between she pops in some questions just to follow that, just to make sure that we are following that story, or are we were engrossed in that story. She didn't have any formal educations, but she know how to read and write. So every day afternoon, she her nearby house, all the old people would come to our house, and my grandmother would read out the read out for them Mahabharata, Ramayana, Bhagavad Gita, and explain to them. It was a treat to watch her and listen her stories. I am fortunate to speak about her today in the very same room here. She used to tell me the bedtime stories. Now I could derive a different dimensions to my Toastmasters journey. When I connected the dots, how she became the best storyteller ever, there is no better place for me to practice, to learn and practice these techniques other than Toastmasters. So that one day, even I can be a good storyteller like my grandmom. So with that note, now I would like to introduce you a person who is the most jovial person in our club. And he really believes in the quote of Mahatma Gandhi. If you want to, the best way to find yourself is losing yourself in serving others. And he served our club from Sergeant at Arms till president, all the roles he has taken, and he served area and division. Now he is doing a noble cause. He is supporting the society, underprivileged children he is supporting. So, ladies and gentlemen, please help me in welcoming that person, that is none other than Toastmaster Melvin Smith, to do the TMOD role.
Thank you, President. What a lovely address you had for all of us, and I resonate. I think all grandparents play a very important role in whatever they do with their children. And yes, of course, they're good storytellers. I hope I'm a good grandfather to my grandson, telling him some lovely stories. Today, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, you have entered the Bangalore Toastmasters Club, one of the premier clubs and almost the first club in India. I believe we are the best Toastmasters club in the whole world. Don't just take my word. Ask many people, they will tell you we are like the Mecca of Toastmasters. How many guests are there? Can you just type in over there, guest? Go into your chat and type in guests. I'll be speaking, but I will make out how many guests are there. Well, Toastmaster is an international non-profit organization that helps you in leadership skills and communication skills. Tagline is where leaders are made. And this is present in nearly 149 countries. Believe me, that's the whole world. Being a travel person, I can tell you, 149 countries, almost all the whole world. And nearly 300,000 members with 15,800 clubs worldwide. It's a massive organization. It was started in 1924 in Santa Ana, California by Dr. Ralph C. Smedley. Our club in particular started more than 2 decades ago. And we have seen presidents and leaders come and go. But what stands out in our club, it's a family club where we learn from each other. And today, we've got seniors who are going to take this meeting forward. I don't know how they included me as seniors. I suppose for the number of years I worked in Toastmasters Club, not for my age, I hope. So in a Toastmaster meeting, we really have 3 parts. We have prepared speeches, then we have table topics, and we have an evaluation session. In the prepared speeches, people come and deliver speeches on a set of guidelines, and they go forward. And each one will have a evaluator to give them feedback on how they have done. Then we have this exciting thing called table topics. People actually love to get into it, and sometimes they also wonder why they got into it. It's so interesting. You're given 2 minutes, you're given a topic, and you're supposed to speak for 2 minutes. And believe me, you've got to listen very carefully to the topic, and you come out with some interesting details people give you, different perspectives. Unfortunately, today we don't have that session because we have another very interesting thing happening today. It's called Moments of Truth, which we'll tell you about later. But we do have the last session, which is called the evaluation session. Evaluation, of course, you know, everybody likes to get feedback, how they've done. Of course, they've taken a lot of trouble to prepare and, you know, do their role today. So they get feedback of how they have performed today. And to lead that complete general evaluation, we have somebody called a general evaluator, somebody who's got a lot of experience and who will tell us, who will be watching this meeting and giving us, you know, information, how we've done well and what areas we can improve. And today's general evaluator, I'll introduce him later, but for your information, it is going to be Toastmaster Umakant Vichur. Please
Yeah, hi, Melvin.
give him a big round of applause. People are clapping. We will introduce you later, your introduction later. So now he is assisted by a tag team. Tag guild team means T for timer, A for R counter, and G for grammarian. Now don't get too worried. These sound very high-flying names, but basically they assist people in their speeches. And why I'm saying this is because when I went first time to a Toastmaster meeting and I saw these people doing their jobs, I was wondering, oh my God, first of all, I have to speak. And if they start timing me and telling me where I went and said and I didn't use right grammar, I'm going to be really scared. But believe me, if you have been listening very carefully and while they introduce their roles, you'll realize that they're only here to assist you. Okay, so to start off, we have somebody as a timer. We have somebody who in his own words says, reaching your life goals is not a straight path. Often you need to take detours, and sometimes you need to use reverse gear. That's what he did in his last year. He moved from employer to employee, again to make some course corrections. This is our timer. He's a humorous speaker, and he's very careful about time. Timer is Toastmaster Somsekhar TH. Kindly introduce your role, Somsekhar.
Thank you, Toastmaster Melvin. Today is a special meet, and I was just computing. Most of the evaluators and the role takers have completed at least 4,44,000 hours in their life. All right, that's a minimum here. So they say time flies, and in the Toastmasters meeting, when you're a speaker, the time flies. But for a listener, if the speech is interesting, the time really flies. Else it crawls, and sometimes it limps, right? But then, when you look at the absolute number, you will know what is the time you really spent. So to note down those numbers, that's my role today. I'm going to keep a track of my timing, and the way you will know how the time has passed, I'll just change my background. If it's a speaker and the allotted time is 5 to 7 minutes, at 5 minutes, I'll give the green signal. That's my background here. Then yellow at the 6th minute. And if you exceeded the time, it will be a red card. So please pin me when you are speaking. Hope we'll end the meeting on time. Over to you, Toastmaster Melvin.
Thank you, Somsekhar. As you can see, we give a lot of importance to time. Then we have the R counter. We have somebody who's retired from a nationalized bank. He was an executive there. And he tells me he ensures to put a smile on his 7-year-old granddaughter's face during these troubled times. As our counter, we have Toastmaster Richard D'Souza to explain the role.
Toastmaster and fellow Toastmaster distinguished guests. My fellow Toastmaster of yesteryears, Toastmaster Gaurish Mehra, was telling that Toastmasters should talk like radio jockeys, like RJs. Yes, prepared speakers can speak like that because their speeches are practiced. But whenever one speaks off the cuff, there a kind of asks or small short pauses or big pauses tend to come in because the time taken to think. And in today's meeting, I will be making a note of such asks, short pauses or long pauses, and I'll be giving out my report whenever asked to do so. Over to the Priyo Modi, please.
Thank you, Richard. As you can see, he'll just assist you and tell you what are those words you use repeatedly so you can avoid it next time. And for the grammarian, we have this person who says she recently learned calligraphy, that is to do with writing, from her teenage granddaughter. In her own words, she says, I have learned that no one is never too young to teach, and no one is never too old to learn. Table topic champ she is. Grammarian today, Sureka Jagdale.
Thank you, Melvin. Thank you so much. And good evening, friends. And being your grammarian today, I would be your language police officer. And holding the baton in my hand, I would conduct a systematic investigation of the good and not so good usages of the English language. Friends, the word of the day is golden ager, meaning an elderly and often retired person usually engaged in club activities. And a good usage of this word in a sentence would be, the precious golden ages of our country are granted many privileges. And dear speakers, on a lighter note, allow yourselves to make a grammatical mistake here and a blunder there, because only when you blunder, then and only then will I be able to thunder. And I will present my report when called upon to do so. Over to TMOD of the day.
Wonderful, Sureka. I'm sure you'll do a great job at that grammarian post.
Thank you so much.
Now we're going to start the very first session, which is the prepared speeches. We have three lovely speakers lined up. And the first speaker today, I hope I got sharing of screen. Yes, I do. Is going to give his speech. But let me tell you a little about his evaluator. His evaluator is known as Ren and Martin of our club. She is excellent in grammar. And she says that she's been doing Qigong, reading books, watching movies, and recently got a son married. The first speech evaluator is Toastmaster Jayashree Iyengar. Kindly read out the guidelines.
Hello. Now, the purpose of this speech or this project is for the member to apply the skills needed to successfully lead in a volunteer organization. 2, the purpose of the speech is for the member to share some aspect of his or her experience serving as a leader in a volunteer organization. So with that, it's back to you, Melvin.
Thank you. So our first speaker, Prakash Tamhankar. He is an electronics and communication engineer and got over 2 decades of experience. He's got plenty of hobbies. He is also a trustee at Vidya Daman, which is an NGO that supports education of children in government schools in Kolar district. He has got Toastmasters in his blood. He has served almost every single role I know of, from roles in our club to area, division, district. He has not stopped there. Just now, he is the president of Speech Studio Toastmasters. And I asked him, what is he doing with his life so much? He said, I've started a new hobby. I started cycling. And in a day, he cycles 80 to 100 kilometers. He's doing his level 5 speech, project 5, leading in your organization. And his speech title is LEAD, lead Toastmaster DTM Prakash Tamhankar.
Thank you, Melvin, for that lovely introduction. Leading is always interesting, and leading in a volunteer organization is an even more interesting aspect. And you will ask me why. The reason is simple. The reason is you carry no authority while you still need to get things done. And that is extremely challenging. Anyone who is doing a leadership role right now at our club, ask them. We had our VPE call a couple of days back. And you speak this week. Someone has backed off. As leaders, we always have these challenges which we need to take care of as we take the leadership roles in every aspect. Toastmasters and guests, the most important aspect of leading in an volunteer organization that I have learned is something that I want to bring to you as an acronym: LEAD, starting with learn. We have to learn to serve because that is something very different than what we do in our regular day job. I'm a leader in my company. As a manager, you always have to lead your team to get the results that you want. And there, along with that responsibility, you also get the authority, not only the title, but the authority, because you have those additional perks that you can control your team with. You give them a salary, you give them a bonus, you decide whether they get a promotion or not. That's not so in a volunteer organization. The only thing that you can give your team is your service. And that is something that you need to learn. And that is different than what would be in a regular organization. And imagine if you can lead in a volunteer organization and get the success that you want, how easy it would become in an organization where you have the authority. Because you will be able to persuade, convince anyone to do what you want them to do, because you did not really need that authority to decide or to get to the results that you want. Number 2, L comes E. You need to earn your respect. You need to earn your respect by making sure that you are delivering on what you commit to deliver at each and every point. Because everyone is watching you at all points in time and seeing what you are doing with your leadership role. Are you saying what you would do, and are you really delivering what you say you will deliver? In my role as the club president, as a club VPE, or at the district, it has always been making commitments and making sure that we deliver on those commitments every time. And that's when people will have the respect for you. Apart from making sure you deliver on what you say you will deliver, what you also need to do is to make sure that you understand the area of your work, the domain well, because that's when people will come to you to know. Every time people approach me asking anything about Toastmasters, I feel comfortable because I have studied and understood what it is all about and how I can make a difference and tell them what should be done or what should not be done. Getting familiar with the domain is one of the key aspects. After L, E, and E comes A, align. It's all about people, especially in a leadership role. How much ever you know technically, finally the results will come from the people. Unless we are able to align with them and take them along, we can't lead. And that's why alignment is important. I remember the time when I was the area director, and I had to work with all the club presidents, there would always be a voice which would say, no, this is not the way to go. And I remember listening intently to what that person wanted to say and understand why and where he comes from. Once you understand that, finding solution which is acceptable to all becomes much more easier, because then you can align and move forward. The next and the most important aspect about leadership in a volunteer organization is the final aspect of the LEAD. D is about discovering yourself. Because in voluntary organizations, you get an opportunity to serve and discover yourselves. Many times I have seen myself in a position where someone else is wanting to do something else, not something where we want to go. That's when you have to set your ego aside as a leader and listen to what others have to say. Realize where they come from, why they want us to go in another direction, and then align to make sure that it's not me, it's not about me, but it's about the larger interest, the larger goal of the organization that we want to achieve. And that's where you can discover more about yourself. Some of the innate qualities you have and some of them which you lack, those come out to the forefront when you work with the people in the volunteer organization. But remember, everything in this finally depends on making sure that you volunteer, because that's when each of us will get the maximum benefit. Next time, when the VP reaches you to take a role, raise your hands up. Next time, when the president requests you to take a role at the club, raise your hand. The next time your area director or division director asks whether you would be able to support a district event, raise your hand. And that's when your real growth will happen, because every time you take a role, you will get an opportunity to lead in a volunteer organization. Be the leader you want to be the communicator you want to be. Back to you, Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you, Toastmaster Prakash, for those lovely words. This is him showing us how he has been doing in the last few months. Did you see this picture? Did we get to see his picture? Can somebody tell me?
Unfortunately, I couldn't see it.
No.
Oh.
No.
Then
No.
I don't know what's happening. I can't show it to you then. I hope you all have been listening very carefully, because I forgot to tell you we have somebody who's playing the role of a listener, and that is Dr. Mohan Kumar. He will tell you what is the role of a listener who is going to be assisting the general evaluator. Dr. Mohan Kumar, please.
Are you able to listen?
Yes, we can hear you.
Sir, good evening, Toastmaster and dear guests. My role, I am doing this for the first time. I have to listen to the and ask the audience in the end. Okay, I will do it. I am listening, and I will ask you in the end what important sentence the audience spoke and other things. Okay, thank you, Toastmaster of the day.
Welcome. Now we're going to go to the second speech, and the second speech evaluator is Toastmaster Sumitra Manmohan. She says she recently started yoga, and that's why you can see her so fit. And she says at Independence Day, she pumped up some 12-year-olds to perform with Josh. Please read out the guidelines for the second speaker, Toastmaster Sumitra.
Thank you, Toastmaster Melvin, for that great introduction. The second speaker is delivering his level 1 project 3 speech, Shape Your Team. The purpose of the project is for the member to learn or review basic research methods and present a well-organized and researched speech on any topic. Time manager note, it's 5 to 7 minutes. Back to you, Toastmaster Melvin.
Toastmaster Sumitra, you're already pumped up. You've also given away the title of the speech, but I think people didn't hear it. Anyway, the second speaker calls himself a dosa-loving construction engineer. Well, he's an engineer who loves to cook. And he says from his very young age, he was always very organized and maintains a yearly diary. I also do that. I don't say I'm very organized. But you know, he has a routine. He starts his day at 4 a.m. in the morning and ends at 9 p.m. Wow, what a guy he is. His name is there in many of the beautiful buildings you see, some at Manyata and L&T Infotech. He is going to give his speech, level 1, project 3, research and presenting. Speech title, Shape the Team, Toastmaster Nagesh Ramamurthy.
Give me an audio video check, please.
Yes, sir, you're audible and visible.
Yes, it's all clear.
Thank you.
You're in black and white, but
Is it?
it's okay. Continue.
All right.
Okay. Well-experienced Rohan and Pawan joined my team on a very demanding project. I put them both together on the task and asked them to share it between them. After weeks, in one of my review meetings, Rohan walked up to me and said, Pawan is very demanding and challenging. Pawan insisted that he should be allowed to take smoke breaks, which were longer than usual. I said I would resolve it, but talking to Pawan was not yielding results. I was racing against time. Dear Toastmasters and guests, you will be surprised that the resolution to my problem came in form of triangles, squares, circles, and squiggles. Dr. Susan Dellinger, she developed psychogeometrics in 1978, which offers people insights that enable them to understand their communication style and how these helps others. People, team constituents, and personalities are understood well by these 4 shapes, which helps diffuse and resolve complex conflicts. Let me quickly demonstrate how understanding personalities by these works. I request you to pick up a blank sheet of paper. Quickly, take about 5 seconds, something around you, maybe a newspaper, pick up a pen and a pencil. You would see 4 different shapes here. Now draw all of them on that sheet of paper. A triangle, a square, a circle, and a squiggle. Squiggle is something that you just has no, it's a random line. Draw these ones on your paper. Now, listen to me carefully. Pick up one of these and draw it again, just one of them. Draw any one of them once more on the sheet of paper that you have. Now examine the pictures that you have drawn. You have 4 of them at least once, and one of them drawn twice, isn't it? Excellent. Here it gets more interesting. We are attracted to specific shapes and forms. And these attractions are based on our personality, attitude, education, and how our brain functions. So the symbol you have chosen to draw twice is your dominant personality. Let me explain this Furthermore, when you have two triangles on your sheet, it indicates that you're confident, you're focused, and you're outspoken. You are usually a self-motivated multitasker who likes to set goals. You also enjoy making most of the decisions. Debating and arguing comes naturally to you. You hate to lose and apologize. On the other hand, you can be sarcastic and impatient, and that too most of the time. Next, two squares on your sheet indicate that you are logical, sequential, analytical, detail-oriented, and also very organized. Data, policies, and procedures actually pleases you, and surprises are not your likings. But you are Miss or Mr. Dependable. For given deadline, you will be able to get it done. But the drawback is that you might expect the same from others. As a hard worker, you are at your best when you're working alone. However, you can be stubborn many times and are reluctant to change. In her book, Communication Beyond Differences, Dr. Susan details that people with two circles on their paper are good communicator, storyteller, empathetic, and compassionate. You may talk too much, but you also love to have fun and laugh at work. You dislike conflict and confrontation. You have trouble setting boundaries, and saying no doesn't come easy to you. On the other hand, taking things personally is very easy for you. You are hurt and angry. When you are hurt and angry, silence is your immediate companion. When you are in the team, you are a peacekeeper. You love to say, can't we all get this done together? Lastly, those who are squigglers, if that shape is twice on your sheet, you're creative, you're original, you're counterintuitive. You are an idea generator. You like being around the people. And what more, you want attention. You love the big picture though, and you always consider alternatives and possibilities. But mostly, you speak before you think. And most of the time, you don't do research before you shoot. The squiggles get bored very quickly and may not always stay organized. In addition, you like being told what to do. However, you do adapt very rapidly to changes because you want to try out new things. This psychogeometrics experiment conducted by Dr. Susan way back 40 years ago, when I conducted it on my team member Pawan, it revealed that he was a square personality. I moved him away from Rohan, and things became very easy for everyone. When Pawan was given independent tasks, his performance enhanced. In teams, behavior might be misinterpreted. In addition, members can see how different personality types may need support from one another, isn't it? So, before you give marching orders to your team, spend some time on this exercise. A little fun, upfront, using these shapes with your team will assist in weaving them together. TMOD.
Wow, fantastic, Dr. Nagesh. Oh, I call you Doctor. Nagesh Ramamurthy. Thank God I drew a circle here. But I want to ask you one question. Is it possible to make a person from a circle to become a triangle? Should be possible, isn't it?
Absolutely. Come to me for coaching.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that lovely. Give him a big round of applause. Virtual, of course. Our third speaker, evaluator, is somebody whose motto is give, 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 hurts. The more you share, the more you are enriched. He says he reached out to the underprivileged children with resources to mitigate their suffering due to the pandemic. This is our evaluator, Toastmaster, Godfrey Soanes. Kindly read the guidelines.
Godfrey, sir, you're on mute.
You can't be seen as well. Go ahead, Godfrey.
Thank you, Toastmaster of the Day, Mr. Melvin. We're doing Toastmasters and guests. The speaker is attempting Project 3. The purpose of the project is to practice using a story within a speech or giving a speech that is a story. All he or she needs to do is choose an established story. A story can be of your life or a fictional tale or your own creation. Time manager, please note, 5 to 7 minutes. Over to you, Toastmaster of the Day.
Thank you, Godfrey. I'm not sure whether it is your line that is unstable or my line, but however, I heard you, but I couldn't see you. Our third speaker has been in Toastmasters 5 years, and last year she became a DTM, Distinguished Toastmaster. She completed the path Leadership Development and is on a second path, Engaging Humor, and today, believe me, you'll see some of it. She's quite a romantic, I think, because she loves long rides and listening to music and waterfalls. I don't know, she says, I'm from Bangalore, Karnataka, as if Bangalore is in some other state. Okay, during her lockdown, she can be quite a serious person. She did a master's in psychology, and she's already completed the exam for the first year. She's doing her level 3, project 2, delivering social speeches. I think this is a speech about her own life. Her speech title is One Night in Paradise. Let's hear it from Toastmaster, DTM, Theresa, Madtha.
Once upon a time, there were two friends, Peter and Paul. They lived in a small village of South Italy. Whole village knew about these friends because they crawled together, spoke together, went to school together. And once they insisted their thumb and took a oath that whoever is not getting a bride should be the best man of another man. Peter and Paul both, they said yes. Days went on. Peter became a baker and Paul became a chef. Every evening, as soon the bakery gets shut, Peter used to go to Paul's restaurant just to dine and wine and share their thoughts and just to enjoy. One fine evening, Peter and Paul were sitting and having. All the clients or customers had gone, but Peter was amazed to see a beautiful lady with a long, dark, silky hair, with brown eyes and ruby cheeks. And Peter said to Paul, "Come on, Paul, you didn't tell me that you have a girlfriend." Paul said, "No, she's just my friend." "Hey, come on, Paul, come on, please introduce me to her, please." Next day, Paul introduced Diana, the gorgeous lady, to Peter. Hence, the days, weeks, months moved in their courtship, and Peter was observing their romance. It was nearing to their wedding date, and as promised, Peter is to remind Paul every time, "Oh, best man, how are you?" But here, Paul started to get headache, some unusual headache, which did not stop. Even doctors could not diagnose what it was. And one day, one morning, Paul did not open his eyes. No! Screamed Peter. You cannot do this, Paul, to me. How can you leave me and go? You promised me that you will be my best man. And what did you do to me, Paul? Neither Peter's parents, nor Paul's parents, or Diana's parents could not console Peter. He took almost 11 months. Finally agreed to get married Diana after Diana's parents pressurized him. As every evening he used to go to Paul's grave and used to talk to him, share to him, same thing he did in the previous day of wedding. Paul, tomorrow is my wedding. And you promised to be the best man. At least bless me from heaven. And he came home. Next day morning was the wedding. Our church was decorated and Diana was looking fabulous and elegant in her white gown. There were bridesmaids, the flower girls, there were whole people decorated, and priest started the ceremony. As the church rule, priest just asked, is there any objection for this marriage? Thud sound came suddenly. The black backside of the church door got opened to full extent. And there came a handsome man wearing a white suit, and everybody looked back and said, is it not Paul? Everybody gasped. Yes, he was Paul, the person who was buried last year. Paul came straight to bride and the groom, and he kept a hand on the best man's hand and made him to sit, and took the ring from best man and stood next to Peter. As soon the priest asked the rings to bless, he offered the ring and he showed his thumb to Peter and also winked his eyes and they showed this, yes, I have done it. Wedding ceremony got over. He went and wished Diana and said, Peter, bye, Peter, take care. Hey, where are you going? Paul, where are you going? Peter said, Paul said, Peter, Diana is waiting for you. Peter turned to Diana, Diana, please wait here. I'll just say bye to him and come. And came running to Paul and said, hey, how is paradise? What's happening in paradise? And Paul said, paradise is beautiful places, Shangri-La, as the water flows in a river here, there it flows wine, and everywhere fruits, vegetables, and food on trees. On trees, the food, and we can have it and drink it. And evening, there's a beautiful orchestra, the angels sing, and there is no discrimination about you're rich and poor, or the duties, or the debtors, or pope, or whoever it's, everybody is equal. Wow, said Peter. Hey, please, I want to come, I want to see. Paul said, Peter, Diana is waiting. Please go. No, please, I want to come. And he just followed Paul and Paul's grave. He went, and when he went down right side, he's seeing the beautiful place with the illuminating. Yes, wine flows in the river and all food is there in the trees. And evening, the orchestra, angels are singing, everybody is dancing. Oh, suddenly he remembered Diana is waiting. He came running up, and when he saw the grave, it was all full of moss. Oh, and he stopped because of the big metal bird was giving a noise. Then he saw some containers going with the puff on the rails. There was so much rot. He ran to the bakery. There was no bakery. He ran to the shop. There was no hotel or a shop. He ran to the church. It was not church. It was a cathedral. He banged, open, please. And the priest opened. Where's Diana? Priest asked, Diana? Yes, Diana, I left it here. And he explained everything. The time he left Diana and went until he was going until the grave and all this heaven. He said, oh, I have heard this story in my childhood. come on, I show you. And he scrolled down and down and down and went to the computer, and he showed and the story written about a man who jilted this wife called Diana and never returned back. Diana remained unmarried until her death. Oh my God, said Peter, and he breathed his last. Over to you, Toastmaster.
Wow, what a fantastic story, Theresa. You always come up with something that has a twist in the tail. Superb.
Superb. Wow.
Yes, indeed. Wow.
Wow.
So we have
Wow.
completed the first section of the meeting, that is the prepared speeches, and we're going to dive straight into the evaluation. And for that, I need to call our general evaluator. Is a person who says from his hectic schedule at work, he is now on a sabbatical for the last few months. And he's a patron at Nisvirtha Foundation, where he gets involved with the activities. He has to speak to deserving students from rural Karnataka, and he also gets to sponsor them for higher education. He's somebody who's a past president of our club, and I worked in his committee as a sergeant at arms. He's also worked in the district in many roles, a very hardworking, down-to-earth person. Today's general evaluator, Toastmaster Umakant Vichur. It's over to you.
Thank you, Melvin. Thanks. That was a wonderful introduction. Yeah, we are celebrating the senior champions today. It's all about golden ages today. And it's good to see so many good old speakers, my friends, speaking out over here today. And today's meeting, when I logged in at 6...
Can I just announce that, Umakant, can I just announce that the password is 1286. So please vote for the best speakers. Thank you. Sorry for the interruption.
Thanks, Melvin. I think I would have done that a little later. Okay. Anyway, the meeting started when I logged in at 6. I could see the excitement with the committee members. I could see Kirtana in a full josh, I could say. She was on top of the world at the point of time, just to borrow Vijay Anand's terms. And I also spoke to the president, and good camaraderie before the meeting started. And the meeting started exactly at 6:25 as promised by the committee. And what a way to start, the tone that the Sergeant at Arms set, by speaking about how gold is important. Without gold, a diamond also cannot stay. And it was a very short and crisp message that she gave in. And I like that message that she gave in, and she introduced the president to take over the session. For a great job done, Kirtana. A round of applause for you. And later the president took over and handed over to the press secretary, Preeti, to speak about the minutes of the meeting. I could say this is one of the best minutes of the meeting I've seen. The way she reads out in every meeting, I think, she presents it out so well, and she creates such a great image, vivid images, that we were there in that last meeting, and there's nothing more I could add. She encapsulates the whole meeting in 2 minutes. That's the best part of it. I love the way she presents it. Great job, Preeti, doing a great work there. President, next coming out of the president, Srijit, and he also spoke very well about the theme, how his grandmother inspired him to speak, inspired him with the great stories, the body languages, the way he connected from what his grandmother's stories was. The grandmother builds up those vivid images, the story, the voice, and he connected very well to Toastmasters meeting. And you did a great job, President. I think one thing you forgot, I feel, is about introducing the guests. I think that's one thing which you missed out. And Melvin, the Toastmaster of the day, took it over a little later and just asked them to name themselves as guests. I think that's the only thing which I feel you should take it up in the next meeting. Else, a great introduction, President. A great, and then you introduce the very good introduction to the TMOD. Melvin, I think Melvin, you should have spoken a little bit on the theme of today's meeting, and we just spoke a one-liner. I guess it was just a one-liner about it. A little more thing would have been better if you could have spoken on that, on the theme. And you spoke about the Toastmasters and about our club, how old our club is, what we do, and later introduced the Taggle team. Good job done, Melvin. Thanks for that. A round of applause to Melvin. And coming back to our speakers, we had Prakash Tamhankar was a speaker one, and his evaluator, Jayashree Angar. I hand over the stage to Jayashree for her feedback. Jayashree.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator and DTM Prakash Tamhankar in particular. Let me first of all begin with a bird's eye view of your speech. What struck me was the sheer clarity of purpose, which came through like a bulldozer or like a spell cast on me that I had to listen. And therefore, I actively listen to you, not only because I am your evaluator, but also because your message came through strongly, clearly, calmly, and yet with your ability to kindle curiosity and interest in a subject that seemed so dry. Now, the acronym LEAD had a strong adhesive quality that what you said will stick not only in my mind, but I'm sure in others as well for a long time to come. So I will not elaborate on what you said, but only bring in those aspects of your speech that sort of compelled me to listen to you. Again, your voice compelled me to listen to you keenly, and your stage presence added a certain commanding presence and therefore added value to your speech, which in no way detracted from it. Prakash Tamhankar, in a sense, you may not be that old, but yet as a Toastmaster and as a DTM, you are a golden ager. And that comes through very strongly in today's speech and other speeches as well that you have given. And one realizes that you are indeed a distinguished speaker, a distinguished Toastmaster. So this was a very persuasive and in a sense, a thought-provoking speech that finally told us why we needed to raise our hand every time we want to be a good leader and a communicator, and why volunteering is the first step of a good leader. And watching you today, one does feel, yes, volunteering is good. And we have you as a role model for a volunteer that has, I think, gone miles as a Toastmaster. Very good, interesting and compelling speech. Wish you all the very best in all your future speeches. Good luck, and back to you, Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, Toastmaster Jayashree, and you covered everything, all the aspects, what was required to be covered. Great job done, Jayashree. And let me call upon the evaluator of the second speaker, Dr. DTM Sumitra Manmohan, for the evaluation of Toastmaster Nagesh Murthy. Over to Toastmaster DTM Sumitra, Madam Toastmaster Sumitra Manmohan.
Thank you, Toastmaster Umakant, my fellow Toastmasters guests, and Nagesh in particular. Wow, Nagesh, that was a really illuminating speech. You not just enlightened us on how to assess personalities to build a harmonious team, but you also managed to get us to discover our own personalities. Now, what was it that hooked us to your speech right from the word go? Firstly, you set the context with a situation which all of us are familiar with. And then the way you spoke with clarity, conviction, clarity both in voice and thought. And it was a very well-organized speech giving us the different personalities. And really what got us involved was you made us do the activity. And that's how we got to discover our own personalities, right? And since it was well organized, you had a good opening that hooked us, and you concluded. Now let us see if you met the guidelines of the project. Now here you were supposed to try and understand different research methods, while you told us from where you got this information on that from where you got this psychogeometric system of assessing personalities. You gave the person who has done the research. I felt perhaps you could have given us how effective it was through some other research findings and maybe some other people's endorsements on this method of assessing personalities. And that is where you need to challenge yourself, this being a research project. The other thing what I felt was, while your voice had the vocal variety and clarity, perhaps you may think of working on your gestures. Now you had it was held in one position, though you tried to bring in variety. Somehow for me, I felt it didn't come very spontaneously. So the tip is you get into that situation as though you're explaining it to someone and it will come out more naturally. And please try and avoid this gesture, Nagesh. Have a look at it. You kept on saying this. You reminded me of a teacher who was threatening a student, right? So have a little more friendly, a more encouraging gesture, and I'm sure whenever you speak, it will have great impact. So keep up your great structuring, keep up the vocal variety, your clarity of thought and speech, and by working on being a little more conscious of the guidelines of the project and these gestures, I'm sure you'll be a great, great motivational coach and a speaker. All the best to you, Nagesh. Back to General Evaluator.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster DTM Sumitra Manmohan. I think you covered all the aspects that was required. I think there's one feedback, Sumitra, to use that I think we also need to be a little conscious of the time that we take to evaluate a speech. I think that's one thing we need to be careful. And we are running short for the next program and next session that we have on Moments of Truth. That's important that we finish our meeting right on time.
Okay.
And the next speaker we have is Toastmaster, Madam Toastmaster DTM Theresa, and she was evaluated by Godfrey. Godfrey, if you could provide the evaluation feedback. Godfrey, thank you.
Good evening, Toastmasters, General Evaluator, and the speaker, Theresa in particular. I would like to summarize the evaluation with an acronym PATH, P-A-T-H. Stands for P, plot well laid out. Evoking all emotions, especially the friendship bond, love, joy, and sorrow, etc. So very well taken care of. and you did it to the hilt. The story covered every emotions. Next, I would like to come to the A, the actors. Without the actors, the story is incomplete. But one thing I liked is there were not too many actors. Of course, a little mix up with characters at times, a little confusion at times. That's pardonable. But on the whole, you put on a beautiful act with the right kind of body language, vivid vocal variety, and using the power of pause to the hilt to evoke the emotions of tragedy. At the same time, pacing up the vocals wherever necessary so that we race along with you and you took the audience all along the path. That's wonderful. That's a hallmark of a good speaker. Next comes, no story is complete, or there's no story is, the quality does not go up unless until there's a conflict. So I called it the T, the tussle. Tussle raises the bar of a story. And you did it very well, creating what would happen, what would happen to the best man, what would be the kind of questions that stirred the emotions and stirred the questions in the minds of the audience. That's one thing. Because of the tussle, the story becomes interesting and engrossing, at the same time heightened the suspense. That's what I liked it. Last comes the H, that is the hidden treasure or the moral that you want to tell us about. You did it well. All in all, the story had all the ingredients of all the masalas that is required to make a wonderful story and keep the audience well hooked to the tea. But at the same time, however, I would like to point out some of the gray areas where you could little improve upon, especially at times in the initial stages, the vocal variety was quite monotonous. So you felt there was a drag in the story. But at the time, slowly in the second stage of the story, you picked it up, whereas you felt yourself at ease and the story moved at a real pace that was required. All in all, a wonderful story. You kept us hooked. We loved it. And we wish you all the best in your next speeches. Thank you so much. Back to the general evaluator.
Thank you, Elliot.
Thank you, Toastmaster Godfrey. That was a well-covered evaluation. Even I felt, the character names was a bit too confusing. Suddenly, we had to really listen hard, at certain point of a time, So I think one feedback, Theresa, is that I think Paul and Peter sometimes get confused. There's something different names that are kept, both P's and that I felt was a little bit of a challenge. And great job done, Godfrey, and good job, good speech by Theresa. Good story by Theresa. A round of applause for both of them.
Thank you.
And I would like to call upon the my Taggle team report. I would like to call upon Toastmaster Somshekhar to provide his report. Toastmaster Somshekhar.
Thank you, Toastmaster Umakant. So today, all the golden ages really showed their experience. If I look at the timings of the evaluator and the speakers, so Prakash Tamhankar finished his speech just 2 seconds within the times. So at a time of 7 minutes and 6 minutes, 58 seconds. Toastmaster Nagesh exceeded by 14 seconds and Toastmaster Theresa exceeded by just 16 seconds. Jai Shankar took exactly 2 minutes, 59 seconds. Sumitra ma'am exceeded by 20 seconds and Toastmaster Godfrey took 1 second short than 3 minutes. So that was an excellent timings by the evaluator and the speakers. Great job. From the Sergeant at Arms, I think she could have better used the time. She took only 1 minute 45 seconds, but our secretary took nearly 4 minutes, stealing away a lot of time from the president who took just 6 minutes today. So that was a report, Toastmaster Umakant, over to you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Somshekhar. And just want to remind all the Toastmasters that the voting link has been sent on WhatsApp and the passcode is 1286. Please ensure that you vote and we get the best speaker there. Best speaker, best evaluator, and the role takers awards given. Thank you all for that. And I would like to call upon the counter Toastmaster Richard D'Souza This stage is yours, Toastmaster Richard.
General Evaluator, fellow Toastmaster distinguished guest. I'm very happy to say that all speakers spoke flawlessly, and I had no opportunity to observe any or short pause or long pause. Over to General Evaluator, please.
Thank you, Toastmaster Richard D'Souza. I would like to call upon Toastmaster Sureka Jagdale for her report on the grammar mistakes or any errors that we have done while speaking. Toastmaster, Madam Toastmaster Sureka Jagdale. You're on mute.
I'm sorry for that. Today was a day packed with linguistic expertise. And the word of the day did go on a private retreat, except for Toastmaster Somshekhar and Toastmaster Jayashree Iyengar, who did use it effectively. Some of the improper usages, I just couldn't detect any. It was packed to perfection. And some of the words, quotes, and sayings that I liked were, old friends are gold and new friends are diamond. Connected the dots, understand the domain well, innate qualities, diffuse and resolve complex conflicts, assess personalities, Mecca of Toastmasters, dine and wine, evoke the emotions of tragedy, dusted the memories, encapsulated, and camaraderie, kindle curiosity and interest, and adhesive quality. Over to General Evaluator of the Day.
Thank you, Toastmaster Sureka. You really thundered with all those good usages. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir.
And finally, I would like to call upon the listener, Dr. Mohan Kumar. If you could, the stage is yours. If you could find out how well we were listening to the whole meeting, Toastmaster Dr. Mohan Kumar. I think you're on mute, Doctor. We are not able to hear you. Hello. Toastmaster.
I think we'll have to skip the listener role because we are overshot time.
Yeah, I think we are running short of time, and we will take these things a little later. I would like to thank everybody who've taken up the role, and I would like to thank the Vice President Education, Hannah, for providing me with this role. And it's been a great opportunity for me to be a general evaluator after a long time, and the first time on an online meeting. That itself is something out of the way for me, having done this. And thank you, Vice President Education, again. And I would like to hand over the meeting to Toastmaster Melvin. Melvin, the stage is yours. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Toastmaster Umakant Pichur, for taking us through that crisp evaluation. Our VP Ed team, very smart. They had a theme like celebrating our senior champions. And that is actually a ploy to bring back all the senior Toastmasters to attend the meeting. Because after long, I'm seeing people like Umakant, Somshekhar, Jayashree. There are a lot of other names who are all seniors and they come back. So we are really celebrating them. These are actually all the golden ages. Please do vote for the best tag team. 1286 is the code. And I had a great time, though we had a truncated meeting today. It's back to the president to go on with the proceedings.
Thank you, Toastmaster Melvin. As I mentioned earlier, Melvin, you did it in style, as always. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot, all the speakers, evaluators, and role takers for making this meeting yet another memorable one. So now it is now. I'll just check our results are ready. If results are ready, we will just announce. Otherwise, we will move ahead. Kirtana, is it ready?
No, not yet.
Okay, fine. Then no problem. Then I think we can move ahead. This is the official meeting ends. Best tackle team goes to Toastmaster Surekha, and best role taker goes to Toastmaster Melvin, and best evaluator goes to Toastmaster Godfrey Son, and best speaker goes to Toastmaster Nagesh. I request everyone to unmute yourself and give a thunderous applause for our awardees. Yeah, with that note, to announcement, actually we have opened our renewal, so renewals are going very slow. I request all our members to renew. And second announcement, on September 3rd, we are planning to have an offline meeting in Ashirwad. I request everyone to be present there. So with that note, I adjourn this meeting number 1286. Thank you.